Right. So if you look at our previous tutorial sheet, I asked one question called find a derivative of some function, but I did not teach that part before. So let us discuss what is this thing, and then we will go further. So this is also generalization of what we generally do derivatives. So here, well, let us see what is this derivative is. So what is happening is, suppose if I have a function f from a surface S1, S to S tilde, I want to define now a derivative of this function, okay? So, right. So do you remember when we do a derivative of derivative inside Rn, at that time what we do is, it is at a point, right? It is something which is local thing. So what we have to here also, what is going to happen is, suppose if I take a point P belongs to S, I have to define this derivative at a point. It is exactly same as that of what we do in several variable. So this will be a map for, this is going to be a map from tangent space of S, where this is S is a surface, to T of, I mean, we have to look at another point inside S prime, which is given by S. So if I have a P over here, that will go as f of P inside S tilde. So I have to look at a tangent space for this at S tilde. And I need to find out what is this map is. And what is the definition? What should be a natural definition for this map? So can you, anybody tell me what is this TPS? Because we have already discussed this. What is this? What is it's called, and then actually what is it consist of?
Tangent space.
Tangent space, it is a linear combination of sigma u and sigma v.
Right. So it is actually a tangent space, but I did not define what is the, right. So when you said the sigma v and sigma u, that is something to related with a patch. So far I did not relate written as this patch. So right now you consider as these are all tangents. So what are those tangents is, what definition I gave you was, if you have a surface S, and if you have a curve which passing through P, then you look at a tangent to that curve, and that is what is our going to be a vector. So collect all those kind of vectors, okay, if you don't give a definition of surface patch, right? Because TPS is always independent of surface patch. So you can also, so this definition is independent of surface patch. So I have actually one side tangent space at P of surface S, and another side I have a T of FPS prime. That is correct, whatever you have said it. So what is this? This is actually a two-dimensional vector space, right? Both of them are two-dimensional R vector spaces, right? So if I want to define a map, differentiable map, what it should be actually, what one property it should have?
It is linear.
Yeah, that is, see, whenever we define, that is correct, very good, Swarup. So whenever we define a map between two vector spaces, certainly it should be a linear. That is what it should have a it should satisfy the property. So essentially what we, and another thing also what we know about derivation in general is, if I have a differentiable function from open subset of Rn to Rm, that is a linear approximation to our function. So here also DPF is also going to be the same. So now we have to actually give the definition of TPS to T of f of PS tilde. But now one thing we have to also notice that, as I said, this definition is independent of surface patch, but we will do whatever Devi was saying. So that's what we will see. But beforehand, actually, this definition is independent of surface patch. So we have to also give a its definition should be some kind of independence. So now actually, if you remember, if I take a W, which is a element inside TPS, then in that case, do I need to see charts between? Okay. So if I have to see if W belongs to TPS, then in that case, what we know that this W, this is there is a map from So we have this minus epsilon to epsilon somewhere here. This 0 is here. I have surface S over here, and I have another surface S prime over here. Sorry, S tilde here, and I have this map, differentiable map F over here. So, and what is happening is, if I take a curve gamma, so this is my curve, which is passing through this point P, then we know that this is a tangent to this curve. So now, if I want to give a definition here, I mean, I need to now find an element inside T of F of P of S tilde, right? So that means first I need a curve which is passing through the point F of P. So can you give me a curve which comes from here and goes passing through F of P? What will be that curve?
If composed gamma.
Right, that is correct. So if I actually take a F composed with gamma, this is going to be a curve inside S tilde, and I can look at actually, so let us call this as a gamma tilde. Then if I look at a tangent to this, then that will be my W tilde, and this is what is our map. Okay, so what is my map is dp f of W, this is equal to W tilde. But now problem with this definition is, first place, why this is linear, right? Is it obvious that is it linear? Or why this is a definition is independent of gamma? See, because we can have a same vector and I can have a many curves which are for which this W is tangent to same A, but with a different curve. Then now the question is, if I take a, suppose if gamma 1 is another curve, which is also for which also W is a tangent, is that new, I mean, if you look at that tilde, whether the W tilde is going to be same or it can be another W tilde prime, right? So that kind of question comes into a picture. So what is the meaning of this thing is your definition well defined? Because it should not be dependent upon curve. Okay, so that is the first thing. And another thing is, if you give this definition is not at all, by looking at this definition, it is not at all clear that it is linear. Is this okay? What are the difficulty to use this definition?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. So now actually the next question to us is like how to actually remove this, I mean, how to make it, see, remember that linear transformation means what it is. Right now we are in a very nice thing. We have a, what are these? These TPS and T, both of these tangent spaces, they are subspaces of R3, right? So if I want to give a linear map between these two, you can always assume them as a some matrix, right? It should comes from the matrix multiplication, because what we know about linear transformations, they comes from the matrix multiplication, right? So if you have a basis, and as just now Devi also mentioned that whenever we have a surface patch, we have some canonical basis for TPS as well as T of F of P S tilde. So because of that, actually our question we can ask ourselves is, can I give actually a map which is in terms of matrices, and then can we give the answer to it? And answer is yes. And what we have to do is, so here let us see what is happening here. So we have this S and we have this S tilde, and our function F is given to us, and point P are there. So now what we do is, since we know that surface patches give us very nice basis, so let us actually take those surface patches. Okay, so I have a sigma 1 here and sorry, sigma here, and I have a sigma tilde over here. So these two surface patches I have, and then what we know about these surface patches is, suppose if you have a point here U naught V naught, which goes to P, and let us denote it by U naught tilde V naught tilde, which is the point of F of P. Okay, so now what we know actually about this TP of S, this is going to be a span by sigma U at a point U naught V naught, and sigma V at a point U naught V naught, right? And similarly, if I take this, I know that T of F of P S tilde, that will be generated by sigma tilde of U tilde and sigma tilde of V tilde. See, I probably I'm not going to write this U naught V naught, but remember that here always you have to write, I mean, you should remember that these are at a points, okay? maybe just to avoid overwriting, I'll just not write here. Okay. So we know now these are the in fact these are the bases for respectively this vector space and this vector space. So now actually let us see whether we can write a DPF, which is a map from TPS to TF of PS tilde, whether we can write this as a matrix multiplication if I have a element. So what is a W will look like? It will look like sigma, some constant time this plus mu times sigma V.
तो जैसे उन्होंने 6 लिखा हुआ है ना, 6 को ब्रेक किया अलग अलग ऐसे कर रहे हैं, ये क्लियर हुआ या डाउट है इसमें?
Is somebody talking to me? Hello?
No, I'm sorry, it was by mistake.
Right. So W is actually a linear combination of this. So what is a linear combination means? Generally we denote it by lambda mu, and I need to actually give here also some matrix times lambda mu. So we have to essentially find what is this matrix is. So how to find actually this matrix is? What you do is, what is this actually? Whenever we have a map like this, so what we know that sigma tilde inverse OF or sigma, this is a map from somewhere, let me write it as a probably V to V tilde, okay, containing this point U0 V0 and U0 tilde V0 tilde. Okay, so now actually I know that this map is a smooth map by definition of smooth function. What is the definition of F is being smooth? Is same as is actually by definition this map being a smooth map. And whenever I have a smooth map like this, how this map will look like? Let me just write it down. So I can write the sigma tilde OF or sigma as some alpha of UV comma beta of UV. And in this case, what I have is I have actually D of, suppose let me call this as a beta. So not beta, I want beta. So let me call this as a G. So then I know that how is a DG of U0 V0 will look like. Can you tell me what is this? What is the differentiation of this map?
Alpha U, beta U, alpha U, beta, alpha V, beta V.
Is this okay, or it should go other way around actually?
Ma'am, it is ulta, I think. Alpha U,
right.
beta U is down.
Right, that is correct. Okay, so this is our Jacobian of this particular map from R2 to R2, and this you have to evaluate at a U0 V0. Let us just not write it. Okay, so and actually dp of f, that will be precisely the same. So what will happen is this matrix, which is a matrix of multiplication, is essentially coming from Jacobian of this transition maps. Okay, so this is a definition of DPF, and why this definition is coming, I have already written in the notes. So you people please check that. Okay, so I'll quickly give you one example for this, how to actually compute this, and so that it will be clear to you. Okay, so for details, you just see our my notes. Okay, so let us see example for this. So if you remember, I gave one differentiable map, which was from plane, which is 0 y z, where y and z, these are elements of R, and then you take a unit sphere, which is, what is the unit sphere is? It looks like some cos theta, sin theta, and z. Let me write it as h for height. H belongs to R and theta belongs to 0 to 2 pi. Okay, so this is our unit sphere. And the map which I defined it in earlier example, which was local diffeomorphism, also we checked it. So what was that map is? From, sorry, this P, plane P to S, this was given by cos y sin y comma z. Do you remember this map? Which we discussed it earlier, that this was local diffeomorphism. You remember that, no? This thing we have already discussed. Yeah. So now actually I want to find what is the DF of this map from Sorry, what is this? So let us fix a point P, which is, let me give you a point P, which is 0, 1, 0. And I want to find dpf of this pf to t of f of p of s. So can you, anybody help me how to actually do this calculation? So first what we need is, we need a surface patch. So what is the surface patch which contains P for this map? Quickly just give me the surface patch. Can I take this surface patch for this? Y comma z goes to P. See, I don't need a usual surface patch. You can check any surface patch. So is this, what is this map is? Sigma of yz, I'm sending it to 0 yz. Is this a surface patch for plane?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
And can you give me a surface patch for sphere also, which is also, we can just take a 0 to 2 pi cross r, which takes theta comma h, send it to cos theta, sin theta, and h. So if I want to find this derivative, now what are the what are the vectors over here which are which will generate this TP this plane at P? Can you tell me what are the generators for TP of this plane?
Zero sigma y. So sigma y is 0, 1, 0.
Okay, 0, 1, 0. That is correct. And sigma z is
0, 0, 1.
0, 0, 1. That is good. So, and anyway, they are constant. So if you'll evaluate it, you will get the same. So this is the basis for this is sigma y, which is this, and z. That is correct. What about here? See, what is f of p is first place? If p is this, what is f of p?
One, 0, 0.
Is this wrong? Is it? What is it? This is not a 1, right? What I need is actually pi by 2. Sorry, this is wrong actually. No, no, no. Wait, wait a second. Sorry, this is not a 0, 1, 1. This is actually a pi by 2. It should be, right? 0. What I need is actually 1. No? So it is a pi by 2. Is this correct? Huh? Right, where cos y is. No, what is cos? No, cos pi by 2 is 0, right?
That is 0. Cos pi by 2 is 0. Then
it is 0, 0, 0, is it?
0.
Cos y, cos 0 is 1, sin 0 is 0, and 0. Yeah, sorry, p is equal to 0, 0, 0, not a. Okay, this is okay now. Right. So now actually, anyways, for p as the sigma, and what will be a point over here actually? This is 0, 0 point we are looking at. Oh, but 0 is not inside this, right? Do I need to change something actually? Suppose if I take a pi by 2, because 0 doesn't belong here. Let me, no, anyway, if you take a pi by 2 comma 0, where is this point goes to? I don't care actually, I just need some point here. So if I take a pi by 2 comma 0, what point will be? This point will be 0, pi by 2, 0, right? And what is the f of p will be? 0, 1, 0, right? It's okay. Right, and this point lies here also, so no problem for us. And what is the sigma theta is? Can you tell me?
Minus sin theta, cos theta, 0.
Oh, okay, sorry. Minus sin theta, cos theta,
Cos theta,
0. That is correct. And sigma H is 0, 0, 1.
one.
But now we have to evaluate this at a point pi by 2 and 0. So what will be this? Sigma theta is?
0, 1. Sorry, minus 1, 0, 0.
Minus 1, 0, 0. Okay, minus 1, 0, 0, and sigma h is 0, 0, 1. So this is a basis for our T of this thing, T0, 1, 0, and this is for this, okay? But now we have to find another thing we need is, so if I want to determine this map, what I need is, I need the map, I need to find a Jacobian of the map which is given by sigma tilde inverse O F O sigma. So what is this map? Can you tell me? What is this transition map? Can you tell me? What is this transition map? Sigma tilde inverse O F O sigma? Quickly. See, you should able to check it. Now look at here actually pi by 2 comma 0. It went like what actually? Pi by 2 comma 0 only, right? So what is your guess is this map is? See, I started with this point pi by 2. It went as a P here and then F. And then actually when it came as a sigma tilde inverse, it remained as a pi by 2 comma 0. So what is your guess actually where this map will be? What will be this map? Do you understand this map, right? What is happening with this map? If you want, actually take a point and check. So sigma tilde inverse O F O sigma of y comma z. What is this? This is sigma tilde of, quickly tell me. 0 y z.
0, y, z.
0 YZ.
But what is this actually?
Cos y, sin y, z.
And what is this? Sigma tilde inverse. What is this actually? This inverse
0,
of this
sin
with?
y, z.
No, it is only in this 0 2 pi cross r. Huh? See, your point is
Okay,
here
okay.
actually. This is our point Z, and I want to come back here. So how this theta h goes like this only. Now how, what is the, this is a map. What is the inverse of this map?
Y, z.
YZ, right? So you started with the YZ and you got a YZ only. So what is this map is? This is an identity map, right?
Identity map.
And when you have an identity map, what is the differentiation of identity map? At any point, this is a linear map, right? Whatever, not exactly linear, I should not say. But identity's differentiation is also identity matrix only, right? See, if you find a Jacobian of this, what is the Jacobian of this? YZ goes to YZ. What is the Jacobian of this? You have to take a partial derivative of all this, right? You will get an identity only. Is that okay?
Okay.
So that means, so if you look at now, what is the differentiation definition? What I said is, so if you have a lambda mu, it will go as a Jacobian, which is identity over here, and it will go as a into lambda times u with respect to this new coordinate. So suppose if I take a lambda times sigma y plus mu times sigma z, how it will go? It will be going as an identity matrix times lambda mu with respect to sigma theta and sigma h, right? So what will be this? This vector df of lambda sigma y plus mu sigma z, this will go as lambda times sigma theta plus mu times sigma h. But here actually, what was the sigma lambda sigma y was 0 1 0, and what will sigma z was 0 0 1. But now here, what is our sigma theta is minus 1 0 0 plus mu times 0 0 1. Is it clear to all of you? How this differentiation can be calculated? Is this clear how this differentiation is calculated?
Ma'am, can you please explain the part where you multiplied with the Jacobian? that lambda sigma y.
Lambda, what is this? This one. Which one do you want me to explain? See what I said here. See here. We have to give. Suppose if you have a two surface patches. Okay, can you just see here? So we have this TPS and TFPS tilde, right? So what is the TPS is? It is generated by sigma U, sigma V. Do you agree with me? Swaroop?
Yes, ma'am.
And then actually what are the basis elements over here? They are sigma tilde, sigma tilde U tilde, sigma tilde V tilde, right? So when you have a linear transformation between two vector spaces, how actually the and bases are fixed to you, how those linear transformations are given? They are given in forms of matrix multiplication. Do you agree? All of you agree with me on this?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Right. So, and this matrix is given by Jacobian of this map. What is this map is? Sigma inverse. See, sigma tilde inverse composed with F, composed with sigma. Sorry, what is that? F composed with, sigma composed with F. Can you see this diagram? Sigma composed with F composed with sigma tilde inverse. This is a map from open subset of R2 to open subset of R2. Okay, and this map is smooth by definition. Do you know what is the definition of F being smooth?
Yes, yes.
So this is a smooth map from open subset of R2 to open subset of R2. This will be much smaller, but let me just write it. Okay, it will be some VV tilde. You have to take it, right? So what is what is the differentiation of this? Suppose this is G. How this differentiation of this thing is given by? It is a Jacobian, right?
Yes, ma'am.
See, suppose if this is a U comma V goes to alpha U, alpha V, and beta U, beta V, then this is a alpha U, alpha V, and what is this beta U, beta V? Is this correct or ulta? I don't know whichever. We just now wrote it, na? Right? This is correct. So this is a Jacobian. So what I'm saying is, dpf of from TPS to TPF tilde, this is given by lambda, this matrix of this linear transformation is precisely this Jacobian. Okay, this proof is given, I wrote it down, I did not prove it right now, but this is there in the notes which are provided to you. So you just look at them, why it is true. It is very simple. It's just that it is, I don't have that much of time, so I'm not doing it. Just check these notes, okay? Is that your doubt? What was your doubt actually? In the example you are not understanding, or in this general theory you are not understanding?
No, ma'am, I got it. I actually forgot the formula of that matrix. Now I got it.
You got it right. And here this matrix is just an identity map only. Here y comma z goes to y comma z. So Jacobian is identity matrix. So because of that, I got this. Okay. Right. So this is what is a differentiation. And for details, you just see that notes. I wrote it clearly also. That book is also very clear to you. So just you can see it. Okay. So next thing I want to quickly go through is actually what is the normal and that of orientability. Okay, so let us actually see how this orientability and normals are defined. Okay, so shall I switch it? It is okay. Shall I see now how orientations are defined? You people, please.
Yes, ma'am.
Some problem?
Ma'am, screen was frozen, I guess.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, actually, my power went off, so
Mhm.
I got disconnected. I just now connected through my mobile. What we want to do is we want to define normal, which is essential for our defining orientation for the surfaces. I mean, whether some surfaces are orientable or not. So for that, what we have to understand is, suppose S is a surface which is given to me, means just now whatever is our definition of surfaces, which is embedded inside R3. So now what happened is, for every point belongs to this S, we have seen that if I take a TP of S, this is going to be a two-dimensional, this is a plane, essentially, plane inside R3, right? So whenever plane inside R3 is given to me, then what we have is, this plane will be determined by its normal. So I don't need to give an equation of a plane if I give normal, okay? But only thing is that this normal, unit normal, it can have a two direction. One is upward, another is downwards, or any two directions will be given to you. So we have to choose one of that for every TP of S. And this selection will be easier for us if we take surface patches. So let us see actually what is this thing is. So suppose if a sigma is mapped from U to R3, if this is a allowable surface patch, then what we know already is, we know that sigma U at a point, so let us take P belongs to sigma of U, then we know that, and sigma of U naught V naught, this is equal to P. I'll write only one time, after that I won't write U naught V naught, okay? So sigma U of U naught V naught and the sigma V of U naught V naught, these are the one which are basis. Just now we have seen it. So now if I take their cross product, that cross product is going to give me a unit, cross product is going to give me a vector which is normal to TP of S, right? But we want the unit normal. So what we are going to do is, we are going to divide it with its norm. And we know that this is nowhere 0 and so on, because they are regular. So we'll get this. And this is by definition, we will take it as a standard unit normal. Okay. So this is called standard unit normal to the surface patch, because it is depends upon surface patch, to the surface patch sigma at P. Okay. So this is called, this is a definition. Okay. This is a definition. Right. So now one more thing about this thing is that, if you remember, TP of S, this was independent of this TPS, this is independent of surface patch, right? Because I told you how we defined it using curves and so on. But unlike this is independent of surface patch, this is certainly it's very much dependent upon surface patch chosen. Okay, so this is depends on sigma, heavily depends on sigma. Okay, it is not only depends upon point, it is depend upon sigma. Okay, I think I should write here P. So now actually what we got it, so what is, of course we know that whole your manifold, it can be covered by surface patches, right? We can choose some at last over here. So now what we want to define is, we want to actually give a map S from this map from S to R3, where this point P will go as to some NP, which is this NP, this is a vector in R3, which is perpendicular to TP of S. Okay, that is what we want to give. What we want to give? We want to give a map in from S to R3 such that NP is perpendicular. This vector is going to be perpendicular to TP of S, and it is a unit, so its norm will be 1. Okay, that is what we want to give. And because of this surface patch, what we already have is Suppose if I take this n sigma, this is a map from sigma u to R3. This P, this will go to NP of n sigma of P. Okay, but only trouble with this is what actually we know that this sigma P of S, this cannot cover the entire surface, right? Sometimes we have seen that in for some surfaces, we may need more than one surface patches. So now the question is, suppose if I take another surface patch, and then what will happen is, okay, sorry, here this is not S, this will be R3. Okay. So this sigma u may not be, it can be a proper subset also. It can be, you understand this, right? This definition of n sigma, it may not cover the entire thing. So now in this case, what I can do is I can take another surface patch and I can give this definition. So now this, suppose if I take another P here and send it to n sigma tilde of P. But now in this case, what may happen is, suppose if I have the same point P belongs to sigma u intersection with sigma tilde u, then in that case we will come to the conflict, right? So we have to actually resolve this. So we have to let us see what is this thing is. So what is the relationship between NP and n sigma tilde P? Can you tell me what is this relation is on the intersection? So what is this NP of sigma? This is by definition sigma sigma u of, let me forget about this, sigma u cross sigma v divided by norm of sigma u cross sigma v, right? And here what is this? Sigma u tilde cross sigma v tilde divided by norm of sigma u tilde cross n. So can you tell me what is the relationship between these two? Do you remember what is the relationship between these two? Do you remember what relation we gave between these two in our
The linear combination of
No, I
No,
guess
linear.
determinant of the
Yes,
I mean,
yes,
first we
determinant
take
of a
the
Jacob.
yes, first we take yes, Jacobian of the transition map.
Right, exactly. So this is actually a transition map. If you take a, so here it should be tilde. So if this is a transition map, so this is going to be a Jacobian of transition map and determinant of that, right? But now actually what we are doing is we are dividing by norm of this determinant, so modulus of this determinant of J, right? So one side I have a n sigma P, another side I have a n sigma tilde P, and what is their relation is, here it is a sign of this Jacobian. Do you agree with me? Because anyway, I'm dividing by modulus. So I'll get here sign of determinant Jacobian. Is this okay? See, anyway, both of them are unit normal and normal to the same, what you call? Normal to the same plane. So they will be differ by only plus or minus only, right? You understand that, right? Suppose if I have a plane and I'm looking at a normal, they will be either plus or minus only, na, because they are unit normal only. So this is their relation. So now the question is whether can you find the surface patches? So suppose if my S is totally covered by some surface patches, different surface patches, question to us is, can we find surface patch so that on this intersection I should choose my n sigma, which is with the same sign. Is this question clear to you? See, what we want is for a given surface patch, I have a map like this. But this map may not be sufficient. I want a map which is globally on the whole of a surface S. Is that okay?
Yes,
So
ma'am.
if I want to extend this map, that means what I need is, I need this map. I need to patch these two maps, right? Not only two maps, all the surface patch maps, I have to patch them. So for patching condition, what we need is, we need on the overlap, these two maps should be equal, right? That is what we need. So when actually these two maps will be equal, because we know that they will be either +1 or -1. So suppose if you choose your surface patches in such a way that determinant is always positive, then what will happen is you can combine this map without any difficulty. Do you agree with me? All of you, do you agree with me on this? I have one map which can just be on intersection, it might be minus or plus. So if I have actually the map which I can just choose it to be a plus, then what I'll get it, I'll get a orient. I can get this map N. Do you agree with me, all of you? You understand this, now what I'm saying is, if I want to extend this map to union, what I need is, I need on intersection, they should agree, right? Is that okay? And what is actually, and them to agree, what condition we need is, we need determinant of the Jacobian should be positive. Do you agree with me on this?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so such a kind of, if it is possible to do this, then we will call it such a thing as a orientable. Okay, so what is this is? A surface S is orientable if there exists an atlas A for S with a property that phi is the transition maps between any two surface patches in A, then determinant of Jacobian is positive. That is what I written here. Okay, and there is a one example which is work out over here, but now I think I'll move on. Okay, just read this thing. See, I tried to give my lecture note beforehand so that you people should just go and read it. And I think you people have enough time, right? You hardly attend 2 classes and 1 tutorial, and most of you don't attend tutorials. So please do read these lecture notes, okay? And I'll give you one exercise over here also. Here I did this example for the sphere, but it is with a this spherical coordinates. But it is also interesting to see our the another atlas is given to it, right? That you remember that ux plus minus, uy plus minus, and uz plus minus. In that case, just write it down. Otherwise, we will discuss in the in our tutorial. Okay, next tutorial. How sphere is orientable using this atlas. And if you check, if you calculate this, it's very nice calculations. If you calculate this, you can see that orientation which is given by this, it is different from the orientation given by this atlas. So one you will get a positive, another you will get a negative. So please go back and read this, okay? We will also discuss this in our tutorial as well. Okay, so you please do attend tutorial, because most of you have seen that yesterday's tutorial there were only 2 of you were there. So I want you people to attend it. Okay, we will discuss all these examples in that tutorial. Okay, right. So now actually this kind of a thing which ends the 4th chapter. There is one example of a Mobius band which was discussed in that chapter, but that also what I'll do is I'll give that, I wrote down notes for that, that also I'll circulate so that you can see that, okay? So actually in my this thing, I had to cover this 5th chapter and 6th chapter also, and I looked at this 5th chapter. In the 5th chapter, it just gives you various examples of surfaces, okay? So far what we have done it, we only discuss what kind of surfaces, cylinder we saw, sphere we saw. What other examples did we see of surfaces? What are the other surfaces which discussed?
Torus.
Torus we have seen a plane and so on, right? But again, these are hardly you can count them on your hands, right? So let us actually see whether we can consider more and more examples. That is what this chapter is doing. So I'll just quickly go over this chapter, because most of the places even proofs are also not given, but we will need actually this example for the chapter number 6. So quickly, what is given time now, I'll just go through actually what is the things which are done in this chapter, and we will go to the 6th chapter from tomorrow. Okay, so let me just quickly go over this. Many of these examples you have already done in your calculus courses, so we can just look at here these examples. Okay, so what is the first thing example he is giving? It is called the level surfaces. So how the surfaces are coming, they are saying, you take any smooth function, f. Can you see my screen? Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
So this is your book. I think all of you have this book, right, with you?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. So I'll just explain to you in this book only, and let us quickly go through over this. Okay. So what we are, what are these level surfaces? They are zeros of some smooth function. Okay. So these are zeros of our smooth function. So for example, in fact, we have already seen many of this example. Okay. So for example, if you look at this cylinder, what is a cylinder is? So can you write cylinder as a level surface? See, we have our equation x square plus y square minus 1 is equal to 0, right? So here what is my function is f of x comma y comma z is equal to x square plus y square minus 1, right? So cylinder is a level surface. Can you give, what about sphere? Is a sphere level surface?
Yes.
And what is that function is for sphere?
X square plus y square plus z square minus 1 equal to 0.
Right, that is correct. X square minus 1. And similarly, if you look at cone, what is the cone? Is it a level surface? Cone?
X square plus
square
y
plus I
square
minus
plus z square equal
Minus
minus
z
z square equal to 0.
Right. See, equal to 0 is there in the definition. We just need function, right? So these are actually level surfaces which we have already seen it. So now for level, we have, what about the cone? Actually, we know that this is a surface, right? We know this. This is a smooth surface. This is also a smooth surface. But we know that cone is not a smooth surface, right? So that means we cannot just take a smooth function and we cannot just look at a zero of this smooth function. And that will be, we need to put some condition. So in this theorem 5.1.1, he gives a condition for that. So what is the condition is, if you look at a gradient of that f, that should not vanish at t. Okay, that is the condition. So for example, in the case of sphere, what is our gradient of this function is? So this is my function. What is the gradient of this f is?
2x, 2y, 2z.
2z, that is correct. So is this gradient 0 at any point on surface?
0,
See, when this
0,
gradient,
0, 0, 0.
but is 0, 0, 0 satisfy our condition f of x, y, z?
No. No.
No, right? Because if you put a 0, 0, 0, it is not going to be actually inside this set. So, so that means this gradient is not equal to 0 for every point P belongs to our above set. Okay. So that means that's why sphere is, what is a sphere is? Sphere is a smooth surface. But if you look at, on the other hand, if you look at a cone, what is the cone is? X square plus y square minus z square. So in this case, what is the gradient is? It is 2x.
2x, 2y minus 2z.
But now actually what we know that our cone is passes through 0. So at that case, our gradient of this function is 0. So because of that, it is not a smooth surface. Is this clear to all of you? What are level surfaces are?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. So now actually, so that is what he discusses over here. Okay. So that is actually a 5.1 section. And there are two ways of generating surfaces. One, I mean, two major part. One is algebraic way and another is geometric way. So if you look at the above thing, what is that? It is a zero of some smooth function, and most of the times those smooth functions are also polynomial function. So such a kind of things are actually called algebraic surfaces. Okay, because they are zeros of some nice polynomials. So another way of generating surfaces are using actually quadratic equations. Okay, so these are also called quadratic surfaces, and they are given by some very fixed kind of a equation. So actually this part at least I taught these things to I don't know whether Priyanka is there today. I think she is not there, but at least Devi and Srinanda, do you remember we have done this in algebraic geometry course as well, right? These kind of surfaces. Actually, what I'll do is now for others also I'll give that book which I followed. It's a very nice book. It is just they gives lot of questions and then you solve them and then you will get a lot of nice answers. That book is very nice. I've forgotten its name. Algebraic geometry through problem solving. So maybe I'll share that name with you people so that you can see even in that book. Okay. So these quadric surfaces, they are coming from some fixed kind of a quadratic polynomials. Okay, so these are if you look at here, this is a polynomial which maximum degree is 2, right? So this is actually a degree 2 polynomial, but these coefficients have to satisfy certain condition. For example, E has to be a symmetric matrix. Okay, and then whatever you get it. So if you look at 0 of these surfaces, then what we have to do is they are actually surfaces, but only problem is not all these quadric surfaces will give me quadric equations will give me a surface. So what we are looking at it is, we are looking at an equation, and then we are looking at its zero set, and we are looking at what is the locus of that zero set, and whether that is a surface or it is not a surface. So sometimes it may not be a surface because, for example, they looked at this equation, this satisfied by only singleton point, and we know that in that case it is not a surface because it is just a point, it is a 0-dimensional object. Or if you take this kind of thing, we know that these are straight lines, right? So so that also we know that this is not a surface, so we need to put some condition. So in this particular theorem, they gave all the possible surfaces. Okay, so for example, ellipsoid is given by this particular equation, which is also a quadric surface. Okay, and if you look at this and so all these things now, you just remember, I mean, I'm not going to go through the proof of this thing. Okay, so just look at these examples, and you please read this. We are going to use actually not this, we are going to use next to construction. So I'll just go through this. So just look at it actually, what are the equation, how these things are coming from. And I think you can easily check this. Okay. And if you look at this equation, the most of this equation, they are again level surfaces, right? Look at this. This is a level surface, right? Because they are coming from the zeros of this. So you can also check whether what is the gradient of this? Is this gradient 0 or non-zero? So all these things you check it, okay, for yourself. Why this is okay? Just check what happens in this thing. This point at the origin, that will give us a problem. Then you check actually this kind of equation. What is so can you just check actually what is here equation is f of x comma y comma z is equal to x square by p square minus y square by q square minus 1. So what is the gradient of this equation?
minus 2x by p square minus 2y by
minus 2y by q
q
square.
square 0.
Right.
Zero.
So is this 0 actually? At what point it will be 0?
0 0
Except
set,
0
0 0 set.
Yeah, but 0 0 is not satisfied by this equation, right? So this is again a smooth surface, and it is not a connected smooth surfaces, but it is okay. Okay. So likewise, actually, all these things are there. Just to check actually this classification. And what they are saying is that if you look at actually these last things, what happens is if you look at this last thing, these are not the surfaces. Okay. And a cone is not surface at a point. So if you remove that point, then it is a surface. So all these things actually we don't even have a time. And another thing is it's too I mean, write it. I think you should read it for yourself only when you will understand it when you will read it for yourself. Okay. So just remember that whatever so far, I mean, these are the only surfaces which are quadric surfaces. Of course, you have to do up to these affine changes. So that means if you multiply by another matrix, so up to that it is going to be same. Okay. So essentially he gives this particular example. So what, but actually, so this was actually their second section. But main thing is about actually the 5.3 and 5.4, which we will be using actually this example for our 6th chapter. Okay, so I'll just tell you what are these things are. And for this, these are actually called the ruled surfaces, or surface which are given by just so what we have is we have a curve and just add lines to it. Okay, so for example here what they have done it. So for example, what is a cylinder is? How cylinder is you can view? See, one way of looking at cylinder is what? You have a cylinder, and then for each point you are attaching one line which is parallel to your z-axis, right? And how many times it intersect S1? See, if you take a cylinder is like a ruled surfaces which we are looking at them. So what we are doing is we are fixing one curve, and each point of that curve we are going to attach one line to it. So for example, if you look at a cylinder, how cylinder you can is cylinder ruled? Can you see which is the curve on which we have one line?
Yes, ma'am.
Right, you have that circle and then put a one line to it. In fact, that is also if you collect all the tangent lines to the circle, whatever you get, it is that cylinder. Okay, so but what we want to do is we want to generalize that concept. So what we want to do is we want to take any curve inside R3, and then we want to attach one line to it, and we try to, so these are some kind of a generalized cylinder or something more than that also. So how to actually consider such a kind of surfaces? So for that, actually one thing, so here actually what they are doing is we are first looking at a curve inside R3. Okay, that is the first thing. And then, so we have a curve inside R3. Let me call this as a C as a curve. And then what we are doing is, for every curve, this curve will intersect your one line at a, so suppose if you have a, so surface is made up of what? Actually it is having a curve, and then for every curve we have a one line which intersect to that curve at a one point only. Okay, so suppose if you choose any point on the on our surface, this surface which we got it from the by intersection of whatever. So here actually what will happen is, suppose if I choose a point P on this surface, then what you can do is you can look at actually what is the line on that line which this point is lying. Okay, and then what you can do is that line will intersect our curve at a point say Q. Okay, so now let us take our curve C is parameterized by this gamma. Okay, so this curve is parameterized by gamma. So alpha beta to R3. Okay, so now can you write an equation for the P? So what you know is that this Q, that will be some gamma U. Sorry. Can you write an equation for this P point? See, we know that Q is a point on the curve, so it will be of the form gamma of U for some U belongs to alpha beta, right? And this is a line, and on that line I know that so how you can write this point P actually? Are you convinced that this can be written like this? See, this is our delta U. Is that okay for you? If I, rather than explaining too much. Point P, it is on the, it is passing through the point gamma U and a vector delta U on this line. Then you can write your P as a gamma U plus V times delta U. Are you okay with this?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. So how now can you write a parameterization for this surface S? So this parameterization of this S, that will be depend upon actually this alpha beta, right? Which is this U cross this V. So V will be actually varies over the real numbers, right? So you will get a parameterization to this surface, which is given precisely by what is this equation. Is that okay? U comma V, that will go to gamma U plus V times delta U. Are you convinced by this equation? So once we have a parameterization, then actually what we have to do is we need to find out whether this gives me a regular surface also, right? Because it is possible that it may not be a regular. So for regularity, what are the conditions which are required? Need a, if you have a surface, for smooth surface, what are the conditions which are required? We need to check where sigma U and sigma V, they should be linearly independent, right? So here actually they discuss about that how these are linearly independent is given. Actually, my time is up. Can I take another 2-3 minutes just to tell them what is there in the chapter?
Yes, yes.
Satya?
Hmm.
Okay, right. So they are just talking about this, and it is not very, it's, I think you should able to manage this. And in 6th chapter, now, whenever I'll come, whenever I'll need this, I'll explain you at that time, okay? How these things are. So please, if you get a time, just go through what they have written here, okay? And another thing is actually very popular way of making surfaces is the surface of revolution. This I think all of you come across, right? Because we calculate surface area, surface volume of this kind. Can you tell me what are example of surface of revolution? Some examples of surface which you get it from revolution?
Torus.
Yeah, torus. So in case of torus, what is happening? What is moving?
The circle.
Yeah, so you take a circle and circle is moving around the z-axis, right? So then whatever surface it is formed, that is going to be a torus. That is correct. Good. What another example?
Paraboloid. Ellipse.
Okay. But what about simple examples, right? What about sphere? Is a sphere, you get it?
Yes.
Right. So you just take a half a circle and that circle will move around, right? What about cylinder? Can you get a cylinder?
Yes, ma'am.
Right, cylinder also can be get, right? You just take a straight line and move around the z-axis. So you get a cylinder. So all of these are actually surfaces which you get it through this thing. And actually they talk about, and this is also very standard actually, which we do it, right? You just write down that curve, and since that curve is lying inside, it is parallel to z-axis, so you will get a y coordinate to be 0, and then you write down this. Maybe what I'll do is this now, whenever it will come, I'll discuss this part. But what I'll advise you people to do is now, you please go through this chapter, okay, the 5th chapter, because I'm not going to do this. These they're kind of things which we do it. But whenever in the 6th chapter, whenever we are using it, at that time I'll record it, okay? And compact surfaces is just a classification of compact surfaces, and compact surfaces are very nice. They are just a what is this? A direct sum of torus, and so we can come to that. Maybe I'll stop now, and when in 6th chapter, I'll start from 6th chapter tomorrow, and whenever whatever is required for us from taken from the 5th chapter, at that time I'll come to that. Okay.